All right, let's dive deep into some psychological horror. We're looking at The Rule of Jenny Penn. This upcoming film looks like it's really going to mess with our heads. You know,
Oh, yeah.
today we're using a trailer review, and just the basic setup is already giving me goosebumps. We're talking a peaceful retirement home, but it's hiding a really dark secret.
You know what really struck me? It's how the setting kind of flips everything we expect. Like retirement homes, they're supposed to be tranquil, a place where life just slows down. But here, that contrast makes you feel uneasy right away. Like what's really going on beneath the surface?
Yeah, it definitely sets the stage for something sinister. So the film focuses on this game is called The Rule of Jenny Penn, and it's run by one of the residents, just a seemingly harmless old man.
And that's where casting John Lithgow is just brilliant. He plays Dave Creeley, and he seems so frail at first, but he's the mastermind behind this whole twisted game. You get hints of this duality in the trailer, this gentle exterior, but underneath, something very disturbing.
Right. And then we have Geoffrey Rush. He's playing Judge Stefan Mortensen, a sharp, arrogant guy. He ends up in the retirement home after a stroke. Sounds like a recipe for conflict.
It is fascinating, right? Because it plays on this real fear, being trapped, vulnerable, unable to escape. But even with his limitations, Mortensen still has his mind. Seems like he's going to use his wits to fight back against Creeley.
And from the trailer, it looks like the game centers around this creepy doll. Her name is Jenny Penn. I mean, dolls are creepy on their own, right? But this one, it's like next level nightmare fuel.
It's like they tapped into our primal fear of the uncanny valley, that feeling when something looks almost human, but not quite. The doll symbolizes this distorted reality, twisting something familiar, something innocent, into something truly unsettling.
And it's not just the doll itself, it's how it's used. You see these glimpses of Jenny Penn looming over residents, almost as if she's always watching.
Exactly. That constant feeling of being watched, it adds to the psychological torture. We see Creeley using the doll to set up these pranks, but they escalate into something way more sinister. Residents start dying horrible deaths, and the dread, the atmosphere of dread just becomes so thick you can feel it.
Speaking of atmosphere, the trailer does an amazing job building suspense. It's full of these nightmarish sequences. Creeley prowling the halls, Jenny Penn lurking in the shadows. You can practically feel the tension through the screen.
And that's where director James Ashcroft's experience really shows. I mean, with films like Coming Home in the Dark, he knows how to play with audience expectations, how to build that slow-burning dread that gets under your skin.
The trailers definitely got me hooked. I'm really curious to see how they explain the rules of the game, because the name itself, The Rule of Jenny Penn, it's so intriguing. It suggests this system of control, a twisted set of guidelines for this terrifying game.
Absolutely, and that brings up so many questions. What happens if you break the rules? Who benefits from them? I have a feeling it's more than just some sadistic entertainment. There's got to be a deeper, more unsettling motive at play.
And that leads us to the performances. John Lithgow and Geoffrey Rush, they're both known for their incredible range.
Yeah.
And the trailer shows some truly chilling moments from both of them. That ability to convey menace and vulnerability at the same time, it's captivating.
You see the fear in the other residents' eyes. It makes you wonder, what would I do if I was trapped there? Would I play by Creeley's rules? Or fight back, even if it meant putting myself in danger?
That's a really thought-provoking question. Makes you confront your own vulnerabilities, how you would react in a situation where your safety, your sanity are on the line.
Exactly, and that's what elevates this beyond your typical horror movie. It's not just jump scares and gore, it's about the darker parts of human nature. That potential for manipulation and cruelty, that's inside us all. So we're back, diving deeper into The Rule of Jenny Penn. Before we got into this unsettling world, we were talking about anyone being vulnerable, even someone like Judge Mortensen, someone who held a position of authority.
It is interesting how the film flips that power dynamic. We have Creeley, this frail old man, but he has so much control over the residents, and many of them were once in powerful positions themselves.
That's a great point. It reminds us that power doesn't always show itself in obvious ways. Creeley doesn't need physical strength to manipulate and control people. He uses fear, isolation, and that twisted game. That's how he exerts his dominance.
And the doll, Jenny Penn, she becomes like a symbol of that power, almost like his enforcer, right? A constant reminder of the rules and what happens if you break them.
Exactly. Jenny Penn is more than just a creepy doll. She represents Creeley's manipulation. That unseen force, the constant threat hanging over everyone. It's brilliant symbolism, amplifying the film's themes of control and torment.
You know, I'm really intrigued by the idea that the staff might be complicit, maybe not intentionally, but but they seem oblivious to the torture happening right under their noses.
Yeah, and that raises some tough questions about the systems we have for caring for the elderly. Are they really protective, or do they sometimes create environments where abuse can thrive?
It's a chilling thought that the people meant to care for the vulnerable could be enabling their tormentors.
It makes you think about vigilance, not just in care facilities, but anywhere there's a power imbalance. We need to see the signs of manipulation and speak up when we see something wrong.
The trailer doesn't really show us Greeley's motivations, but there's definitely something more going on. It's not just a harmless old man playing pranks.
Right. There's a deeper, darker reason for his actions. Maybe it's revenge, twisted revenge, or maybe he gets a feeling of power from manipulating people.
It's interesting you mention revenge, because the retirement home setting adds another layer to that. These residents are reflecting on their lives, maybe dealing with regrets or old conflicts. Could Creeley be using that against them?
That's a really good point. Maybe he's preying on their guilt, their fears, twisting their pasts into weapons to use in this game.
It's chilling, but it also makes me think about social commentary. The film could be making us think about how we treat the elderly, how we see their vulnerabilities, and how easily those can be exploited.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just individuals. It makes us question the systems that are meant to protect the vulnerable. Are they enough? Are they really serving their purpose?
We've talked about manipulation and control, but another thing that stood out in the trailer is isolation. A lot of the residents seem disconnected, lost in their own worlds.
That's an important observation. Isolation makes people vulnerable. When you're cut off from support, from connection, you're an easier target for manipulation. It's like Creeley is creating that isolation on purpose, using it to control the residents.
Almost like a psychological prison inside the retirement home. Physically confined, but also isolated from each other. So it's harder to resist, Creeley.
And that isolation might be why the staff doesn't notice anything. They see the residents as eccentric or withdrawn, but they don't see the signs of distress.
It's a powerful reminder to be aware of those signs, the signs of abuse and manipulation, especially for people who might be isolated or lack support.
Absolutely. It highlights how important connection is, building communities where people feel seen, heard, supported. That message goes way beyond this film. It's a real social issue we need to address.
So far, we've looked at the dark side of the rule of Jenny Penn. But are there any signs of hope in the trailer? Do we see any resistance, any connection amidst the horror?
That's a great question, and it brings us to a crucial theme: resilience. The trailer focuses on fear and manipulation, but there are hints that not everyone is giving in to Creeley's game.
You're right. We see Judge Mortensen trying to hold on to his dignity. He's struggling, but he's not giving up.
Exactly. And there's that moment when he connects with another resident, a woman who also seems to be resisting Creeley. It's a brief moment, but it shows that even in darkness, there's connection. The human spirit can find ways to connect, to resist, to endure.
It's like those connections are a rebellion against Creeley, a way to fight back against his control.
I think you're right. By forming bonds, the residents are taking back their agency, their humanity, in a situation that's trying to take it away. Even in the worst environments, people need connection. They need love. They need hope. And that can't be completely extinguished.
That's really powerful. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, there's potential for resistance, for resilience, for finding strength in unexpected places.
Absolutely. And that's what makes the rule of Jenny Penn so compelling. It's not just horror. It's about the human spirit, about enduring, about finding hope and connection in the face of darkness. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been breaking down this trailer for The Rule of Jenny Penn, a film that seems to be about psychological manipulation, societal commentary, and of course, horror. But as we wrap up, let's think about this. What makes this story so captivating? Why does it resonate with us so deeply?
I think it's because it plays on those primal fears, fear of losing control, fear of being vulnerable, fear of being forgotten, ignored. Those are fears we all deal with, right? No matter our age or where we are in life.
Exactly. And what's so clever about this film, at least from the trailer, is how it takes those universal fears and puts them in a setting we associate with vulnerability, a retirement home.
Yeah, it's like the setting itself becomes this metaphor for how fragile life is, how we all age, and the anxieties that come with that. We see these characters, they were once powerful, vibrant, and now they're facing limitations, their minds and bodies changing, losing their independence.
Right. And that makes them perfect targets for someone like Creeley. He preys on their weaknesses, their fears. He knows power can be found in unexpected places, and he uses that knowledge to control everyone.
And it's not just the residents who are vulnerable. The staff, even with good intentions, they're totally oblivious to the torment happening right there. It's like the system itself is failing to protect the people it should be helping.
It's pretty disturbing, isn't it? Makes you wonder how often this happens in the real world. People suffering silently, trapped, feeling like they can't speak up.
Yeah, it's a reminder to pay attention to those signs. Signs of abuse, manipulation, not just in care homes, but everywhere. We need to be more aware of each other and speak up when something's wrong.
Absolutely. We can't just assume someone else will handle it or that the system will somehow protect the vulnerable. It's on us to be vigilant, to speak up for those who can, and to challenge systems that allow this abuse to continue.
So even though The Rule of Jenny Penn is a fictional story, it brings up real disturbing questions
Oh,
about how our society treats the elderly.
it's a wake-up call, for sure. It makes us examine our own ideas about aging, about vulnerability. It challenges us to be more compassionate, more understanding, and to work towards a world where everyone feels safe and respected, no matter their age or physical condition.
We've talked a lot about the dark side of this film, but I keep thinking about those moments of hope. Judge Mortensen standing up to Creeley, the connections between residents. It shows that even in the face of cruelty, the human spirit is strong.
You're absolutely right. This film is more than just horror. It's about resilience, about human connection, about the strength we all have inside us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into The Rule of Jenny Penn, I'm left feeling uneasy, definitely, but also grateful for those connections, for compassion, and for the importance of speaking out against injustice.
I agree. It's a film that stays with you. It makes you think about the world and your place in it, and about how we can create a more just and compassionate society.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.